I'm Kyle Long, and you're listening to Cultural Manifesto. Up next, we'll celebrate Pride Month by listening back to my 2021 interview with Mary Byrne. A prominent figure in Indiana's gay rights movement, Mary also played a lesser-known role in Indiana's music history as a key promoter and curator of women's music, a cultural movement that grew out of 1970s feminism. During the 1980s and 90s, Mary was the director of the National Women's Music Festival in Bloomington, Indiana. And from 1978 to 1984, Mary was the owner of Labyris, a feminist and lesbian bar located in the Labyris neighborhood of Indianapolis. Labyris featured live music from stars of the women's music scene. Let's join my conversation with Mary Byrne as we discuss the origins of Labyris. What prompted you to start thinking about opening a nightclub? Is that something you'd ever imagined doing?
No. Okay, so I got out of Stopover mainly because I didn't know anything about money. And so, of course, what I do, jump into from the frying pan into the fire, open my own business. So, I don't know. But right after I got out of Stopover, I started playing rugby, and I joined NOW because the ERA was trying to get passed in Indiana. And so I just started meeting all of these women and feminists, and there was only this dark, dungy place down on South Street called Darlow's to go out for a drink afterwards. And I just felt like women needed a place to go that reflected positive and good vibes and things like that. So that I kind of started learning. I got a job at Waffle House and started learning how to do food and, cost of sales and that sort of thing. And then I went to a bartending school. Got a job as a bartender for a while. I knew exactly where I wanted it located and watched the papers, and bingo, there it was. It was a country music tavern. And so I kept it as a country music tavern through, I think, the end of December. So like maybe 2 months. And then I realized that my staff was ripping me off. And so I just closed it and cleaned it and renovated it and got the word out. And we opened in March. And on our opening night, one of my friends came to me and said, I think we have problems in the parking lot. And I went out, and there were 28 slashed tires on 24 cars. So I had to come back into this party and say, hey, we got to stop. Everybody has to help everybody else change tires. Come back in, and we'll have a party. So that was kind of the way it started, and it was all good from there.
Every woman who ever loved a woman, you ought to stand up and call out her name. Mama, sister, daughter, lover, every woman.
And Mary, getting back to Labyris, the women's club you opened in the Lockerbie neighborhood in the late 1970s, you eventually started featuring music there. And you featured very prominent musicians through the years at this club. You talked about your preparation for owning a business. You went to bartending school. You learned how to prepare food and manage a bar. At that point, were you thinking about featuring music at the bar, or did that just come as you kind of went along with the experience of managing it? You never set out to make it a music venue, right?
No, I don't think I set out to make it a music venue. But right around that time, late 70s, is when the National Women's Music Festival was starting over in Champaign. We had gone to the Michigan Women's Music Festival maybe a year or two. And so my eyes were opening to what was to be called women's music, or how music performed by, written by women could have such a positive effect on women's lives. And so it just made sense. And it was also a great way to get a crowd in. I had to figure out ways of making money in a variety of different ways, because I wasn't going to do it like a normal bar.
And featuring music was one of the things you tried?
Right, because you sold tickets, and so hopefully, there was some money left over for the bar. But then I had a whole group of women who came down, and after the music, then they were there. I mean, so...
Yeah. And, as I mentioned to you earlier, when I look at your life and everything you've accomplished, to me, I see music as having a big place in all that. And I think your achievements within the field of music in Indiana are really extraordinary. But I'm curious, how you see that aspect of your work. And was that something that you really had much of an interest in prior to opening Labyris? Were you a big music fan? Were you really tuned in to what was happening in music, going to concerts? Was this an area you ever kind of expected or wanted to get into prior to this?
No. No, but the point was community and community building. And this music and going to these festivals, listening to this music was an incredible community building thing. I produced 3 or 4 concerts before I opened the bar, just to get a sense of whether or not women would come and support something like that. And they were very popular. And it got women to because I would talk about opening the bar at these concerts. And the last one was a Holly Near concert that we had out at Brebeuf. And I just told them, okay, got the bar. I've been talking about this. You've been asking what you can do to help. So now I need your help.
And to my knowledge, to my understanding of the development of the music scene here in Indianapolis, this was an untapped market, right? The women's music market. You weren't competing with other clubs.
Correct.
There was no one else presenting this type of entertainment on a regular basis.
Oh,
right?
No. At the time, you had disco, and nothing bad about disco, but that was kind of the gay bar scene. And so really live music wasn't really part of that scene at all. These were women who would not have come out to a bar normally.
Yeah, you mentioned presenting Holly Near at Brebeuf, did you say?
Yes.
And, Holly Near is an iconic figure in women's music. And I understand, is this correct, that she also performed at Labyris, too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's incredible. I mean, this is a major internationally touring artist that you featured in this, small little nightclub. I'm curious about some of the other performers that you featured over the years at Labyris. Do things stand out in your mind, certain performers?
Chris Williamson was, at the time, the biggie. Margie Adam, Teresa Troll, June and Jean Millington had a group called Fanny at the time. Or right before then. We just had all kinds. There was a jazz group called Alive that was spectacular. I bet they came to the bar maybe 5 or 6 times. And then we also had local people. The person that was Marg Herder had a group called Soft Sound.
Software.
Yeah. Software.
Incredible group, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And Barbell played a lot, and there was a group called La Femme. So there was a lot of local stuff happening. Yeah, there's just a little bit of everything, but that's also women's music. It's just very, very broad as far as the genre of music.
And you closed the club around 1983, 82?
83, yes. 83, 84.
Okay.
Maybe.
And you were tired of running a nightclub?
Well,
the business was dwindling? What was happening?
Yes, the business was dwindling. By that time, I had started producing the National Women's Music Festival, and it was probably my energy level waning also. Running your own business just takes so much. And I think that there's kind of a circular pattern with a bar or restaurant or whatever, and it was just time to let it go. But we had a big party, a celebration. I mean, it was too bad. I really wished that I had been able to find somebody that would buy it and run it at Labyris, because I would like to have gone there.
I'm Kyle Long, and you're listening to Cultural Manifesto. If you're just tuning in, we're listening back to my 2021 conversation with Mary Byrne, a prominent figure in Indiana's gay rights movement. During the 1980s and 90s, Mary was the director of the National Women's Music Festival in Bloomington, Indiana, and later Muncie. The festival presented legendary performers like Odetta, alongside up-and-coming talent, including Ani DiFranco and Tracy Chapman. Here's an excerpt of Tracy Chapman's 1986 performance.
The things we won't do for love. I'd climb a mountain if I had to, and risk my life so I could have you. Every day I'm psychoanalyzed for my lover. They dope me up and I tell them lies.
Let's return to my conversation with Mary Byrne. And I want to ask about some of the performers and speakers you featured at the National Women's Music Festival during your time with the organization. And if some of these weren't during your time, let me know, but I'm going to toss some names out here. You had really significant performers, Janice Ian,
yes.
Buffy St. Marie.
Yes.
You also, in addition
Odetta.
to having Odetta, wow, yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
In addition to having these, really established figures, this was also an opportunity for up-and-coming performers. In 1986, you featured Tracy Chapman,
right,
who would go on
up and coming,
to have hit records.
And she had not hit it yet,
right?
And I'll tell you, it still gives me goosebumps. You hear her one time, you knew. Oh, this woman is going someplace. We had, who is the woman?
Another person I wanted to ask you about is Ani DiFranco.
I just thought that was the
She
word.
played there early in her career,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, you knew instantly that this woman was just so talented, was going to really go places.
And you mentioned you had dancers at the festival.
Yeah.
You also had very prominent speakers.
Yes,
and
we had really good speakers.
In 1993, you had the great Angela Davis speak at this festival.
Yes.
So, yes. Tell me about, I want to hear about Angela Davis.
Who was the woman that was the vice president? Geraldine Ferraro
spoke,
we had Jocelyn Elders, who was on the
Surgeon General.
Surgeon General under Clinton. That was really much more what I wanted to see come in. Judy Chicago was there, the artist who did the dinner table. And I think that those speakers were as much a draw as the performers, because these were kind of our icons of really strong women who had kind of made it and changed things in the world. So, that was incredibly fun.
She was a lass of the low country, and he was a lord of a high degree. She loved his lordship so tenderly. Sing sorrow.
I'm curious if you miss being involved in the music scene. Have you missed that presence in the music scene through the years?
there is absolutely nothing as thrilling as planning a concert. You go from the big picture, getting the act, you just all the details of the marketing, the sound, the house manager, you get all this stuff. You get on stage, you watch the sounds check. You've got a great engineer out there. You're backstage. You know that you've got a nice crowd, and there's just absolutely nothing like that rush to say, welcome, glad you came to the concert, and here we have, a great show for you. So there's just, it gives me goosebumps to think about it. It's just really fun. It was incredibly fun.
And Mary, my final question to you is, I'm curious how you assess your impact on music in Indiana and in Indianapolis. To me, you had a huge impact, and it's really hard to even kind of wrap my head around all the things you were doing and things you were involved in. Not only did you create a platform for women's music here in the state, you created a safe space for openly gay women performers to, share their art with people here, something that I don't know how tangible that was for these performers prior to some of the stages you created. Looking back on this, how do you assess your impact in the music scene here in Indiana?
Well, I think that the music had I think that the music had a mammoth impact on both individual women. I mean, that's why I got into it. I started hearing this music, and it spoke to me. It was the thing that started healing, all the garbage I'd heard about myself since I was young, that I didn't fit in, that I wasn't worth enough, that I was not beautiful, that I was, you heard all this stuff. And here is this music that it just makes you whole. It starts that healing thing. And I think that music touched every individual woman's life. And in one way, that just, that all of those people got to experience that. And then the idea that you could form a community around that music and, again, reinforce that positiveness, weekly by getting together with your friends or whatever. I think it's had a profound influence on me and my life, and I know on other women.
And Mary, in the short time that you're here with me this evening, there's no way we can get into all the different things you've done in your life, especially your work as an activist, which is really interesting. And that's a book on its own, I'm sure. Yeah. But fortunately, if our listeners do want to learn more about your life and work, there are a lot of places here in Indiana where they can do that. The Indiana Historical Society has an oral history you recorded. They have a huge collection of artifacts and papers from your time running Labyris, the National Women's Music Festival, your work as an activist, and other things you were involved in. You told me that you donated a collection of books, over 2,000 books, to Central Library in downtown Indianapolis. And I think there's other things in the works. If folks want to learn more about you, there's plenty of places here they can do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't thank you enough for taking time to be
here.
Any final
been very
thoughts?
Enjoyable.
Any final thoughts you want to share?
Well, I have to say it back to you. I'm just blown away by what you know coming into this interview. That to be able to already know some of the people that came to the bar, the music festival. I mean, you came to this interview really as an equal partner in this interview. So I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mary. It's again an honor to meet you and hear more about this work. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Shadow straight